Welcome to Spiritually Speaking with Alethea. I'm Alethea Jacob, and I'm delighted that you are taking this time today to share with me as we talk about a fairly important issue in today's world. And my topic for today's podcast episode is how to deal with unfairness, negativity, adversity, or anything affecting your life that is detracting and distracting you from being the positive, purpose-filled person that you are. So I thought one of the ways to begin this is just to kind of point out, if you're somebody who's watching this podcast, Spiritually Speaking with Alethea, you probably, like me, are somebody who always strives to do their best, who wants to be a force for good in the world, who cares about others, as well as always trying to be doing the kind and most loving thing possible in every situation, right? Most people that are interested in spirituality have that sensitivity and that desire to want to leave a legacy of a world better for them being in it, right? So my question is that I want to ponder and talk to you and share about today is what do we do actually? How do we react to any negativity or unfairness that's either directed to us or impacting us in our lives? So I think I want to share first some very broad stories of 3 times in my life where I was on the receiving end of profound negativity, despite me trying to do good things and the right things and be a positive force in the world. And each of the 3 times, each time these negativities or unfairness hit, it rattled me back then, honestly. And it still has that first wave. It's natural to have negativity or attacks on our character or on our reputation impact us, right? Because most of us care, or we care about what other people think. I tend to be an optimist. I'm an extrovert. I love people. I probably have been accused of people pleasing in my life because I derive a lot of pleasure in doing things that bring joy to others, make them happy, improve their lives. That's just something, the way that I'm wired, right? And I know a lot of you probably share that, that we are happy when we're helping to make other people happy or bringing joy into their lives. So what do we do when we get attacked? Today's world is very polarized, and social media, which is a blessing in so many ways, right? You and I are communicating and sharing this moment digitally, because whether you're watching it or whether you're listening to it, because of social media, right? And so it's a platform where learning and education and sharing can take place. But it's also a place where some people have chosen to use it for negativity, for anonymously attacking others, for bullying, for cancel culturing different people, organizations, businesses. And so it's been weaponized by some people who just are not happy, who want to destroy things, who want to tear down things. So that's just something in a back burner issue of like, how do we make sure we're using social media in ways that are uplifting, educational, positive, expanding, filled with love instead of ignorance and fear, right? So, all right, so the 3 stories. So the first one is called The Devil's Handmaiden. Yep, that's me, in case you didn't know. Apparently, back about 40 years ago, I was teaching a class called Metaphysics Made Easy back in the Northeast. And I was teaching it in 3 different high schools as part of their adult education programs. Well, part of this Metaphysics Made Easy, as part of it, I was teaching adults who signed up for the class and paid for the class on their own, right? This was all outside of the formal curriculum of the school. This was adult education, so it was all optional. I was teaching them how to meditate. I was teaching them how to develop their intuition. And for some reason, somebody from a fundamentalist group thought that this was evil. And they started writing letters to the editor, calling me the devil's handmaiden, because as we all know, according to them, meditation is evil and is of the devil. And listening to your intuition is evil, and you shouldn't work on developing those skills. And any kind of psychic tools or intuitive tools are evil and of the devil. And okay, and on it went. Well, obviously, these accusations came from a place of tremendous ignorance and fear, or indoctrinating beliefs that just this person honestly, or these people honestly thought they needed to protect the community from somebody evil like me. Now, they never met me. They never talked to me. They never came to a class. They didn't talk to any of my students who had been to the classes. They just saw the agenda and the course description in the adult education handbook and thought, nope, can't have it. Well, this became a 3-month-long ongoing letter writing campaign to the editors, and back and forth. I even wound up getting an ACLU lawyer, to talk to and say, like, this is violating my civil rights. These people are slandering and maligning me and impacting my business, because at the end of the day, the superintendent of schools said, this is just too controversial. And they removed the class from all 3 of the schools. And I was devastated. I was out there sharing and giving my heart and teaching and having a great time, and the students were having a great time. And then these outsiders who, for whatever reason, thought that this was something evil or wrong, made it their business to attack me and my reputation and say the most horrendous things about me, again, without meeting me, going to the school, taking a class, talking to a student, right? So that was the first time. The second time, I was accused of being a thief because I bought at a legal auction property that a neighbor had defaulted on their taxes, and it went up to auction and I wound up buying it. Well, she went on to social media and accused me of stealing her property and what a horrible, unspiritual person I am. And I was like, no, I went to a legal auction and I bought this. But on the social media back in the day, that took off on Facebook. And next thing I know, I'm getting attacked and being told, what a horrible person I am because I stole this property from this lady. Now, in hindsight, I did offer her the land back. She didn't want to buy back what I had paid for it. She just wanted me to, give up anything I had paid and just give her back the property, even though it was legally seized by the town and sold to me. So that was the second time. Again, kind of unfair, and people attacking me who didn't even know me, didn't even care to find out about the whole situation, right? And then the last time, this was about 3 years ago, and this didn't even have to do with me directly, but it did impact me. Someone who was working for a company was training dogs at the time, and a disgruntled employee took a video and doctored it and posted it online, accusing that employee of abusing a dog. Well, in this day and age, in any day and age, animal abuse or child abuse are horrible, horrible things. And it fueled a wildfire of responses. Didn't matter that the video was doctored and that the accusations were false. Didn't matter that animal control cleared this person. Didn't matter that the sheriff's department did a 2-month investigation and interviewed everybody and inspected everything. And also no charges were ever made. And they apologized for the craziness of social media and the cancel culture. But it resulted in death threats coming into our company, to me, to that employee, to all the other employees, because it just took on this nature of its own. This cancel culture of there's somebody that's abusing dogs and they need to be put out of business. And nobody took the time to critically think, like, does this even make sense? This video is weird. This was investigated and there was never a charge and they're allowed to be open. Like if there was any truth to it, it never would have, the person would have been arrested or charged. The business would have been shut down, and it wasn't. So people are very quick to join on to, yeah, let's go attack them and let's put them out of business in the name of righteousness before they even know what the facts are, the whole story. And so one of the big questions that when any of these things happen, and the reason that this came up today for me is, now that was 3 years ago. I was recently told by an organization that I cannot be a member of this organization because somebody complained that I was associated with that person and that event from 3 years ago, because it's still alive on social media, right? It still has a life of its own. If you go out there, you can still see all kinds of craziness about it, regardless of the truth of the matter. And I'm like, wait, it had nothing to do with me. It was a false accusation to start with. And just because of that, you're telling me that I can't be part of your organization because, I might be a negative person too? Really? Right. So that's what kind of precipitated this thought of, wow, my reputation as a good person, a spiritual person, somebody who has devoted my life to helping others, people as well as animals, because I knew somebody that was accused of doing something, wrongly accused of doing something. And yet this is the world we live in these days. It's this incredible rumor mill, ability to attack, ability to bully, and this lack of critical thinking or willingness to even hear the other side of the story or to see the facts presented in a way. It's almost like they were so fearful of any kind of negativity coming their way if they were even associated with me, who was associated with somebody else, that it was like too dangerous. And I'm like, this is so bizarre to me. It's like, wait, I thought we're in America where we're innocent until proven guilty. The burden of proof should be on the accusers, but with artificial intelligence these days and social media where you can pretty much post and say anything without having to prove it, it's a really challenging situation. So what do we do? What do we do as righteous people when we are unrighteously accused of wrongdoing, when our reputation and our character is being smeared or being attacked? Oh, okay. So it's a big question, right? So some people will say they're coming from ignorance and fear, and we don't want to meet them in that place, right? It's like throwing gasoline on the fire if you engage. So basically ignore it. Just try to be as loving as you can and ignore it and don't put any fuel on the fire. But how will people know if you don't fight back that this was an unrighteous attack, that these are false allegations, that these claims that are floating around in cyberspace have nothing to do with the reality of the situation? They may be opinions at best, but not based in the facts or reality of the situation, right? So what do we do, right? So I think one of the things that I'm learning and I'm sharing with you, because, those are like really extreme situations, all three of those. And I hope that no one ever has to go through that yourself. But, there's work situations where you might be feeling like you were accused of doing something or not doing something. There's personal situations in school environments. I mean, these days you have to be so careful of everything you say, everything you do, right? That people are walking around on eggshells not to offend or hurt feelings or say something that will make somebody uncomfortable. And we've talked about this in the Resiliency episode, that being uncomfortable is not a bad thing. That's how you start to learn and you gain capabilities, right? So, all right. So I'm uncomfortable when somebody attacks me or says something negative about my character, especially when it's unfounded. Well, what do we have to do, right? I think the first thing we have to do is be really honest with ourselves and say, is there something that we could have done better to handle the situation? Is there any truth to the situation, right? Did I do something that somebody could have misconstrued? So do I own any of the responsibility for what happened or for the spin that's been put on what happened, right? And if there is some accountability, we have to own up to that and do whatever we can to make that right, right? So it doesn't happen again going forward. If we need to apologize, if there was something that we said or did that truly was egregious or wrong or not living up to the high standards we have for ourselves in our life, then sure, we apologize and we do whatever we can to make it better, right? I think we also have to be clear that we have to shine our light and do our purpose and be the light in the world, regardless of necessarily how it's received by others, because not everybody is going to understand who you are. It's like artwork. And the analogy that comes to mind here is if I was an artist and I sculpted this beautiful sculpture and it's sitting in a park, I cannot be attached to the joy that some people might have as they look at it and they say, wow, that's amazing. And they take pictures of it or take pictures by it and post selfies and all the likes, right? But I can't be angry or upset about my artwork and the product of what I've created if somebody else looks at that same thing and flips it off or spits on it or defaces it even in some way. It might make me sad that somebody felt so compelled to be destructive and malicious that they would do those things. But I really shouldn't care as the artist and the person who brings things through how it's received. Now, we all have an ego. We want to be liked. We want to be loved. We want our work to be appreciated by others, right? That's just natural. But we also have to get to a point where as long as we're clear that we're doing the best we can, we're doing things that are in alignment with our soul purpose, we are always trying our best to do the right in every situation and to positively impact the lives of others by what we do, by what we say, by our interactions, that's really the best that we can do. Because we cannot be responsible for other people's reactions or responses to us. Just like the only thing we can control in a situation is how we respond, right? So going back to, so what do we do when somebody attacks us, right? What's the loving spiritual way to respond to that? Well, I think mostly it's to forgive them for their ignorance or the fear that they're acting out of, trying to understand where they may be coming out of. It's like, okay, so going back to any of those cases, the people that were attacking me thought they were defending somebody else, right? Because if you honestly think that somebody is doing something evil or wrong and corrupting or hurting the innocent, right, who wouldn't rally to that cause? The important thing to do, though, is to do the due diligence and make sure you don't sign on the lynch mob bandwagon before you understand what the truth of the situation is, or you've heard the whole story, right? It's really important to understand what is true out there, because there's a lot of versions of truth and opinions masquerading as truth that are out there, right? So we have to do our best to be above reproach, right? That's the first thing, right? Or if you always act in alignment with your ethics and values and you try to do right in every situation and you ask yourself, what's the best and most loving thing I can do or say in this situation, even being on the receiving end of some negative stuff, you'll still be able to sleep at night, hold your head up high, and continue to connect with spirit and do your work, right? And be an instrument for creativity and a force for good in the world. So, the having high standards matters, doing the rule, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Remembering that's important and putting that out there. So If I think back to, did I ever jump to conclusions and judge someone prematurely? Yeah, probably. I try to make amends with those people if I realized it, timely. If I wasn't able to apologize to them directly, if they've already died, for example, and then I find out some other extenuating circumstances and realize, wow, I was really overly harsh with that person, or boy, I judged that person and I really shouldn't have, I will say a prayer and I will ask for forgiveness for that failing and just getting caught up in the moment. And, it's kind of like gossip. I used to gossip a lot when I was younger, just because it made me feel good to fit in, and everybody's gossiping and talking about a certain situation or a certain person. And then later on, I realized, oh, why did I do that? That's not right. Would I want them doing that to me? Was I really living the golden rule? No, I wasn't. Right. But it's easy to get caught up in that sometimes. So we have to stop ourselves whenever we realize we are not living the highest, best version of ourselves. The other thing that we can do, especially when you have these things floating around that are a part of the past, right? And you're like, oh gosh, like I said, this popped up this morning that happened 3 years ago. And it was cleared 3 years ago. And it came up now and bit me in the butt. And it really had nothing to do with me. I'm like, all right. So one of the things to do when you know that there's stuff floating around is to be as upfront and inoculate others about, hey, just want to let you know, there's some crazy stuff floating around about me out there in the universe, right? And, this is the truth of the situation, and I'll answer any question you have about it. I can provide whatever documentation you want to see about it, and just try to be as transparent if it's somebody that you think needs to know about whatever the situation was. So that inoculation can help. But the biggest thing I think we can do is cultivate detachment of what people think about us and about what we create and put out into the world. I had written a book that we talked about before. It's The Portal to Potential. And I'm hoping that this is a book that will inspire and uplift and bring a lot of joy to people. But as the author, I've done my job. I've written it. I brought it through. I've gotten it printed. I have it available up on Amazon. I have it available on Kindle. I have to just trust that the right people will find it, that they'll enjoy it. And I really can't or shouldn't care if one person sees it or 1 million people see it or 10 million people see it, right? It shouldn't matter to me. Ego-wise, sure, I want it to be a hit. I want people to love it. I'd love to get the feedback. Oh, this was amazing. It changed my life, right? But you know what? That may or may not ever happen. And not caring about other people's perceptions of it. Did I do the best job I could with it? Yes. Was I proud of what I put out there? Yes. Do I feel the profound energy that comes through or that came through when I reread and when I go through it? Yes. Okay. I did my job. So sometimes we have to be okay with not getting that amazing feedback. If you think about most jobs in life, how often did you get the attaboy or the attagirl from the boss, right? Every once in a while, we'll get a promotion. Every once in a while, we'll get a raise. Every once in a while, we'll get a bonus. But most of the time in our lives, we go through our life and our jobs and our work doing the best we can without a lot of recognition or praise. And depending on the type of jobs you're doing, I know for a lot of people that are the stay-at-home parents, if one spouse is at work and the other one is at home, there's an awful lot of work that goes into being that stay-at-home parent, right? I don't know how much recognition or praise or glory or feedback they get, right? You do the job because it's the right thing to do. It serves you. It serves your heart. It serves your soul. It serves your family. You're going to do the best you can, regardless of if people come and say, wow, you are the mom of the month or the dad of the year, or you're the most amazing author I've ever read, right? That's not why we do what we do. We do the things that we do because it is within our soul, our nature, our spirit to do those things, right? And we talked about this before in prior episodes, that it's really important not to just kind of sleepwalk through your day and your life and your world, right? It's like we want to know that we're in alignment with our soul and our purpose, and what we're doing matters, right? At least matters to our soul, and matters that we know, you know, if you're doing a half-baked job, or whether you're really doing the best you possibly can, right? Only we know what's in our heart and what we're capable of, and whether we kind of shortchanged it or we gave it our all. So as long as we are giving it our all and we're doing our best in every moment, and we're having that positive impact on people's lives by what we do in our jobs, by what we produce, by what we share, by the interactions we're having, then we have to avoid getting sucked into the drama of the, well, so-and-so didn't like it, or so-and-so thinks this, that, or the other thing, or someone didn't get it or didn't understand it. You know, you're not going to change the minds of most people that have judged you without even meeting you, right? It's probably rare to impossible if somebody's already made a judgment about you. So why should you give your power over to them? Why should you let their negativity, their ignorance, or their fear make you feel bad, or stop you from doing the things that you do that bring joy into the world, that shine your light, that shares your gifts, whatever those are? You know, we have a choice each day, moment by moment, every interaction, and we have to ask ourselves very critically, what will I choose in this moment? And the sum of the choices that we make in our lives, of how we respond to what's happening to us, whether we forgive, whether we love, whether we continue on in faith and in the due diligence and in the positive, right effort of fulfilling whatever it is that is in our soul to do in this lifetime. Those are the things that define us. Who do you want to be? Don't let somebody else's negativity pull you off track. If you feel inspired to fight back when a bully attacks, okay, but do it smart, and do it in a way that comes from love and wanting to protect not just yourself, but from those that are on the receiving end of the gifts that you are sharing, right? Don't just do it because your ego said, oh, they attacked me, so I have to attack them back. Nope, that's engaging in their war. That's being pulled into their drama, into their negativity. That is not the way to go, right? Look at all of the great teachers in the spiritual disciplines, right? What did Jesus say? He said, how many times do you forgive? It's not just 7 times, it's 70 times 7 times. It's like, get involved with that. If people attack you, if people are bad to you, turn the other cheek, right? That's tough to do, right? So even though it's tough, it's really important. And so one of the things I'd like to end here after kind of going through this is I want to remind you not only to be the best you can be, but also if you find yourself judging somebody, especially somebody you really don't know well, or you don't know personally, and you've heard something or you saw something, really guard yourself against jumping into that virtual lynch mob before you've pondered, before you've thought it through, before you've actually done whatever due diligence you have. And if your actions are not uplifting and helpful in some way, then I would strongly suggest you refrain from doing those things. Why waste your time on something that is taking you off of your path and off of contributing in positive ways to engage in negativity that's tearing down or hurting somebody else, especially if you're basing it on just stuff that you see on social media? Okay. And you know what? It's going to get even more complicated and challenging as we go forward, because with AI in today's world, you can a video look like anybody is doing anything or saying anything. And it's going to be harder and harder to tell what's digitally created versus actually happened, right? So having discernment, having love in our hearts, respect, decency, kindness for each other, this is really important. And you do find yourself, and if you find yourself on the receiving side of judgment or negativity, or people casting aspersions on you or your business or on somebody you love, unfoundedly, unrighteously, unjustly, the best thing you can do is to not engage. Be as loving and clear as you can, and shine your light and stay focused. Stay focused. Do what you do. And in the end of the days, you'll have your body of work. You'll have the lives of the people that you have touched in a positive and uplifting way as your living legacy and testimony to your character, to your reputation, regardless of what other things might have popped up or cropped up along the way. Truth, real truth, endures to the end. All right. So one thing I'd like to do here to end is to share just a quick little poem that's in my book, Portal to Potential. Once again, this is available on Amazon and on Kindle, and it was written to provide some uplifting passages, some questions to ponder, some thoughts that might be interesting to dwell upon, as well as some inspired writings and some poetry. So one of the poems that came through is called Shine. And I'd like to share that with you right now to end. Shine. Behold the light approaching, soft within the darkness, gently piercing the veil, bringing awareness and love wherever it goes. You are that light, traveling through your journey of unfoldment. Shine brightly for yourself, as well as to light the path for others along the way. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I really appreciate you joining us, sharing the link here, liking it, following it, doing all the good social media stuff that you can do. I welcome questions and feedback. You can email me. You can go to my website, aletheajacob.com, to see what's happening lately. You can reach out and email me there, as well as putting your questions or comments down below. So have a wonderful and blessed day. Do your best to be a positive force for good in the world, and don't let the crazies get you down. Okay? All right, y'all. Have a wonderful time. And until next episode, this is Alethea from Spiritually Speaking with Alethea, wishing you the best and hoping that you'll have a blessed and wonderful day. Thanks. Bye-bye.